A minute of snapshots of what happened before the first excursion. The journey begins. We take possession of the vehicle. It is my second time at Victoria Falls, but the emotion of being in front of this majestic wonder of nature does not seem to diminish, on the contrary. Every time I return, I am enchanted by the power and beauty of this unparalleled spectacle. We arrived in the afternoon, still a little dazed from the long journey, but the fatigue immediately disappeared in the presence of the roar of the waters that throw themselves into the deep canyon, whose course separates two nations, Zambia and Zimbabwe. We immediately began the panoramic route, stopping at each viewpoint located in Zimbabwean territory, from which you can admire in all its grandeur the front of the waterfalls that plunge into the canyon on the other side of the border. Each stop was an invitation to contemplate the immensity of nature, with the thin mist of the water that surrounded us and the continuous roar that resounded in the air, a reminder of the indomitable strength of the earth. No matter how many times you visit this place, Victoria Falls always manages to make your heart beat a little faster, giving a feeling of smallness and wonder in front of the infinity of nature. The return to the exit, illuminated by the warm lights of the sunset, was an unexpected, almost poetic gift which sealed this first day of travel in a perfect way. The golden rays of the sun that delicately touched the landscape transformed every detail into a vibrant painting, from the elongated shadows of the trees to the reflections on the rocks and water. As we walked, the heat of the sun that slowly faded seemed to bring with it also the tiredness of the journey, leaving room for a feeling of peace and contentment. It was as if nature itself was saying goodbye to us, ending the day with a vision that could hardly be planned or predicted, but that would be forever imprinted in the memory as one of the most precious moments of this adventure. Our first dinner. It will take a few days to acquire the automatisms in the work groups. The division of tasks, cooking, cleaning, and putting up the tents has been designed to ensure that everyone can contribute equally and functionally to the harmony of the group, and each day will bring us closer and closer to a well-oiled rhythm. After dinner, some very talented a cappella singers offered a welcome show.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome.
The first awakening in a tent of our trip to Botswana, which actually begins in Zimbabwe. The common areas of the campsite were not bad. It's a shame we didn't use them. The charging station we assembled every evening. Breakfast while waiting for the flight to Victoria Falls was one of the few that did not take place in the dark. In the following days, many departures before dawn. The flight over Victoria Falls was undoubtedly one of the unforgettable moments of this trip, an experience that exceeded all expectations. Seeing this extraordinary natural spectacle from above offers a unique, almost surreal perspective. The rushing waters that plunge into the deep canyon appear as a boundary between heaven and earth, while the roar of the falls becomes a distant whisper, leaving room for visual wonder. When I came for the first time, a few years ago, I had opted for a completely different adventure, rafting on the Zambezi, a breathtaking and adrenaline-filled experience. If you are curious, I leave the link to the video of that adventure below in the description. This time, however, I had no doubts about the activity to choose. Flying over the falls gave me a feeling of absolute freedom, as if time had stopped to allow me to contemplate the majesty of nature from a privileged point of view, suspended between sky and water. We were lucky enough to experience a simply perfect day, where nature gave us a spectacle that we will hardly forget. The reflections of the sun on the main cataract created a hypnotic play of light, making the water sparkle as if it were embellished with millions of diamonds. And then, all along the front of the falls, rainbows formed and disappeared continuously, as if they were paintings suspended in the air, adding a touch of magic to an already extraordinary landscape. Every glance was a discovery, an emotion, with the roar of the waters that seemed to amplify the sense of wonder and amazement. It was a moment that made us feel small in front of the immensity of nature, but at the same time incredibly lucky to be able to witness such a rare and powerful spectacle, where light, water, and color came together in perfect harmony. Watching those rainbows shine among the steam and mist of the falls struck a deep chord, giving a feeling of peace and wonder that only the most extraordinary places on the planet can convey. After the flight, over the falls we set off towards the border between Zimbabwe and Botswana. Almost immediately we stop at a giant baobab. From the information sign, it seems that the big tree is as old as 1,200 years. As you can see, we no longer have the truck that picked us up at the airport, and this is the new vehicle that was provided to us. On the truck, the atmosphere is still that of the beginning of the journey. Everything is in its place, the seats intact, the backpack stowed almost neatly, while we gradually adapt to the spaces around us. Once we reach the border at the checkpoint in Botswana, we have to undergo the sanitization procedure of the soles of our shoes. All of them, even those in our backpacks and also of the truck wheels. We stopped in Kasane where we ate, did some shopping, bought a local SIM card, and changed money. After a quick lunch, we set off for Chobe Lodge. Immediately after arriving at the lodge, we set off again to reach the river and navigate the Chobe. Chobe National Park takes its name from the mighty Chobe River, which flows along its northern border, protecting this verdant oasis from the arid expanses of the Kalahari Desert. Covering some 12,000 square kilometers, the park offers an incredible variety of landscapes, from lush riverine vegetation to open plains and mopane forests. This diverse environment supports a rich biodiversity, making Chobe one of the best places in the world to observe wild wildlife. Elephants, buffalo, lions, leopards, and a myriad of bird species find their ideal habitat here. The Chobe River, with its abundant waters and breathtaking sunsets, is the beating heart of the park, attracting thirsty animals and offering visitors unforgettable views. Every visit to Chobe National Park is an immersion in the wilderness, an experience that leaves a lasting impression on the soul of those fortunate enough to explore its wonders. Imagine sailing silently along the banks of the Chobe River, while the late afternoon sun kisses the surrounding savanna. This was our unforgettable experience during the boat safari in the heart of Chobe National Park. This bird seems to dance in the magical light of the golden hour. It was a magical moment where nature itself seemed to paint a vivid and emotional picture, leaving an indelible imprint on our memories. As the sky turned orange and red, the Chobe River transformed into a golden sheet of water, reflecting the beauty of the world around it. This was my second experience of sailing the Chobe, and on both occasions we chose the late afternoon and were rewarded with spectacular sunsets. The boat that they reserved for us today is a large vessel and can only navigate the widest and deepest channels. A suggestion that I would give is to choose a small vessel that can also navigate the smaller channels, allowing you to get closer to the animals that go there to drink, preferring these small waterways to the main channel. This is a shot taken on my first navigation done with a small vessel. But even on this occasion, we can do nothing but admire the sumptuous spectacle that nature has reserved for us. The second dinner is prepared by the light of the lamps. We arrive at the entrance to Chobe National Park very early. The sky is wrapped in a calm darkness, and it is starting to dawn. The air is crisp, and upon arrival, all we can hear around us is the light rustling of leaves moved by the wind. And yet, despite the early hour, a long line of jeeps is already winding in front of the gate. Now our chatter and the low chatter among the guides, in various languages, and the faint glow of the headlights contribute to an atmosphere of vibrant anticipation, as if the park, still immersed in the silence of the night, were about to reveal its secrets to those ready to explore them. During the transfer and in the first hours of our game, Drive the Air is biting, an unexpected cold that catches us unprepared despite the several layers of clothing we have worn. In our videos, we appear bundled up beyond belief, as we squeeze into the seats of the jeeps seeking warmth. But the cold quickly fades into the background when we realize how extraordinarily lucky we are. As soon as the safari begins, we come across two majestic lions. Our guide, in an excited but composed voice, explains to us that they are two brothers, a rare and powerful bond between these predators. The felines walk with a sovereign calm, completely indifferent to the procession of jeeps that surrounds them. The wheels creak on the ground, the engines hum softly, but nothing seems to disturb their regal gait. The two brothers travel along one of the park's roads as if they were the legitimate sovereigns of that wild kingdom, followed in reverent silence by a dozen vehicles, while we, with bated breath, observe that unrepeatable scene, aware of being witnesses to a unique moment. As soon as we round a bend, the driver brakes sharply, and before us appears an extraordinary sight. A huge elephant that, completely unperturbed, continues to eat twigs and leaves from the trees with the utmost serenity, ignoring our presence. Its calm demeanor allows us to approach in silence, so close that we almost hear the sound of its trunk as it tears off twigs. It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We rush to take photos and videos, trying to capture every detail of this close encounter. But what strikes us most, in addition to his imposing figure, are his eyes. Deep, almost melancholic, surrounded by long lashes that move softly as if to shield them from the world. It is an image that will remain etched in our memory, more than any photo, because those eyes seem to contain the entire wisdom of the savannah, an ancient indifference that reminds us how small we are in the face of the grandeur of nature. The excitement among the Jeep crews becomes palpable when, along the dusty road, we spot a new group of lions. A murmur runs among the vehicles, with camera lenses rising in unison and hearts beating faster. These predators, with their majestic nonchalance, seem almost to ignore us, barely bothered by our presence. With slow but sure movements, they walk the road as if it were their personal catwalk, eyes fixed on the horizon, determined towards a destination known only to them. The muscles under the golden furs contract with every step, confirming it contains strength, ready to explode at any moment. And we, enchanted by this display of silent power, remain still, aware that, however close, we are only skimming the surface of the secret world of these magnificent animals. The air is thick with expectation, with respect, while the pack slowly disappears along the path, leaving us with a feeling of wonder and a silence full of emotions. The guide, with a serious and thoughtful tone, explains a sad chapter in the history of these places. Many trees, once lush and vital, now lie like silent skeletons in the landscape. The cause is human intervention that, although necessary, has left deep scars. Some time ago, to combat a disease that threatened to spread uncontrollably, these territories were sprayed from the sky with chemicals. Now, the dry and bare trunks of the trees are silent witnesses to a delicate broken balance, a constant reminder of how fragile nature is and how, sometimes, even the most well-intentioned attempts of man can have irreversible consequences. The guides, with a smile and a knowing nod, simply call them cats. almost as if to diminish the majestic presence of these sovereign predators. The chatter between the jeeps, the radios exchanging information, contribute to creating a vibrant atmosphere of excitement and wonder when a new sighting is in sight. This time the information is correct, and it is impossible to put into words the tumult of emotions that overwhelmed us as we tried, almost frantically, to immortalize every moment of an encounter that we knew would be unrepeatable. In front of us, a large group of lions, specimens of all ages, from the majestic males to the elegant lionesses who watch with attentive looks, up to the playful cubs, protected and watched over by their mothers among the bushes. Every click of the camera seems insufficient to capture the magnitude of the moment. We know that the chance to see so many lions, in such a perfect combination of strength, tenderness, and wild purity, is a rare event, perhaps unrepeatable. And as we walk away, there is the knowledge that this day, with its moments of wonder and silent admiration, will remain engraved in our memory forever, a precious memory to be relived again and again. An impala crossing, it's a very large group.
In the bush, first
Yeah.
in the wilderness.
Guarda che carino questo.
Soon after we meet monkeys and impalas that move together, the guide tells us that in this way they protect themselves better from predators.
Maschio di kudu.
Yeah, with a it's a fully grown up one. We can just even see the spiral horns. And when we just look at the tip of its horns,
Yeah?
the whitish, because they keep on dattering, sharpening them on the ground. And they
To
keep,
do what? To find root.
Ha delle
No.
strisce bianche.
so that they can be sharp and defend themselves, especially if leopard or lions try
Allora le
to
corna di morte che ho
we
visto
just,
prima.
just
Ah,
hit them with
ok. Allora, guardate le corna come sono, arrotolate e potenti, vengono utilizzate per cercare cose nel terreno e soprattutto per difendersi. Quando il leopardo ti monta sulla schiena, lui si va indietro con la schiena e lo pungola. si difende con le corna.
E la
Quella dietro è
versione...
la femmina e questo è un puccio, un maschio piccolo. Mentre quello che c'è dietro è una femmina.
Ma quello là quanto era alto? 2 metri e mezzo?
This giraffe is also very beautiful and continues to chew its cud even when a red-billed oxpecker, a small bird of the starling family, frees it from insects and parasites right on its cheek. Our game drive in Chobe National Park is coming to an end, and the exhilaration of the adventure gives way to a subtle melancholy when we come across the remains of an old dead elephant. Although it is a scene that belongs to the natural order of things, we cannot help but feel a hint of sadness.
It's only solid.
Ah, è solido.
Bone.
Ma mi sembra di aver capito che non c'è il midollo dentro, cioè...
È pieno?
There isn't nothing inside the bone,
There's no-
only solid.
Only solid bone.
Ok.
To support the heavy weight.
Ok,
Imagine-
per supportare il peso pesante.
But almost as if nature wanted to balance this feeling with a note of hope, just before leaving the park, it surprises us. A group of small elephants appears on the horizon. Their awkward and curious movements make us smile. It is as if the park itself wanted to give us one last moment of joy, a sign that life goes on, that after every end there is a new beginning. During the transfer to Elephant Sands, everyone finds their own way to spend their time. Some take care of the common fund, meticulously sorting out expenses and planning the budget for the next stages of the trip, while others, tired from intense days of safari, indulge in a well-deserved rest, lulled by the gentle swaying of the truck and the landscape that flows outside, made of vast horizons and endless expanses. Some take advantage of the journey to have a quick snack. Others, with cards in hand, transform the journey into a small challenge, between laughter and jokes, creating moments of complicity and sharing that make the transfer an integral part of the adventure. Every activity, however simple, contributes to creating that relaxed and convivial atmosphere that makes this type of journey unique, a collective experience made of discoveries, small routines, and precious moments. Elephant Sands is a renowned bush camp located near Nada, Botswana, and offers an immersive and unique experience in the heart of the wild nature. Its distinctive feature is the common area, equipped with a small pool and a panoramic terrace overlooking a waterhole, where the majestic elephants come to drink and cool off. The emotion of observing these peaceful giants as they move freely, just a few steps away, is priceless. The camp has bungalows arranged in a circle around this oasis, while the camping area allows visitors to live the experience in a more adventurous way. The peculiarity of Elephant Sands is precisely the constant presence of large herds of elephants, which pass calmly between the waterhole and the bush, sometimes even crossing the tent area, making the stay even more exciting. From the pool and terrace, you can enjoy a privileged and incredibly close view of these majestic creatures, offering unforgettable moments in total safety. The serenity of the environment, combined with the charm of the elephants cooling off in the water, creates a magical atmosphere where the boundary between man and nature seems to dissolve. The dawn game drive from Elephant Sands didn't provide the kind of memorable sightings as the one at Chobe, but the real magic of safaris often goes beyond the wildlife. In that silence broken only by the sounds of nature, the first rays of the sun painted the landscape with warm and delicate hues, transforming the horizon into a living picture. Even without close encounters with the wildlife, the colors of the dawn made the experience just as unforgettable. There is something extraordinary in seeing nature awaken, a moment that reminds us that every single moment in these places is a privilege to be savored. We saw an incredible amount of elephants. Observing them in their natural habitat was a moment of pure wonder. Their imposing silhouettes that stood out against the landscape, the slow and majestic movements, the deep bond that can be felt between the members of the herd. Each encounter with these gentle giants gave us intense emotions. After the game drive at Elephant Sands, we set off, covering more than 360 kilometers through an African landscape that changed before our eyes. On this, our fourth day of travel, every kilometer brings us closer to the heart of Botswana, while the sun begins to set, painting the sky with shades of gold and red. Finally, after hours of road and with dusk at the door, we reach Sitatunga Camp, a welcoming refuge immersed in the quiet of nature, located near Mon. This morning, immediately after breakfast, we will set off towards the extraordinary Moremi Game Reserve, a true natural paradise located in the heart of the Okavango Delta. It will be the beginning of a great adventure that will see us as protagonists for the next 2 days. Our group will be divided into 2 jeeps, accompanied by 3 expert guides, 2 of whom will also act as drivers, thus ensuring not only safety, but also a deep knowledge of the territory and the animals that inhabit it.
Say cheese.
The tour operator, who organized our game drive in the reserve, asked us to immortalize the moment of departure with some group photos, a precious memory that will mark the beginning of an unforgettable experience among the wild wonders of Africa. We finally arrived at the South Gate, one of the entrance gates to the Moremi Game Reserve, one of the wildest and most fascinating corners of Botswana. From here, the real journey into the heart of the African savanna begins. Our itinerary today includes only a short section on paved road, while the bulk of the 110 kilometers that we will travel will be on dirt terrain, sometimes impervious. The last 30 kilometers, in particular, gave us an authentic taste of what the famous African massage means, a sort of natural massage caused by the holes and roughness of the ground, which can be felt in every part of the body. Guide's ritual photo.
All right. Thank you.
The jeeps are completely open, which amplifies the immersion in the surrounding environment, but requires some precautions. In addition to a hat and sunglasses, it becomes essential to cover your nose and mouth to protect yourself from the dust that constantly envelopes us. Around us, the earth and dust seem to be the only visible traveling companions. But there is the awareness that, behind every curve, wild nature is ready to surprise us. After the long and tiring transfer from Mon, we finally arrived at the long-awaited moment. The excursion in Mokoro, the traditional canoes used to navigate the calm waters of the Okavango Delta. However, before getting on these boats, we had to cross a wooden walkway that, more than a solid bridge, seemed like a temporary structure, so much so that its stability raised more than one doubt among us. Every meter traveled by the Jeep makes the planks creak under our feet, and a certain sense of adventure accompanies us. Here, however, the art of making do is an integral part of everyday life. Adapting to circumstances is a necessity and not just a skill.
So we need to treat these animals with respect. So reply to your guide.
When we arrive on the shore, the Mokoro are already waiting for us, lined up on the calm water, as if in a sort of silent welcome. Each will carry two of us, entrusted to the expert guidance of our rower, who will not only expertly lead us through the quiet channels of the delta, but will also be our interpreter of the surrounding nature. After a short briefing, in which we are explained how to behave and what to expect from this unique experience, it is time to set off. We glide gently on the water, leaving the shore behind us and immersing ourselves in a landscape that seems out of time, where the sound of the long or that sinks rhythmically into the water is the only melody, interrupted only by the calls of the birds and the rustling of the vegetation. The sensation is that of a deep connection with nature as we move further and further into this branch of the delta, ready to discover every detail of this ecosystem so alive and vibrant. The lady did not notice the video camera placed above. One of the most vivid and touching memories I carry with me from this trip is the image of this old, solitary elephant, an imposing but time-marked figure, immersed in the calm waters of the delta. Watching him while, with slow and deliberate movements, he carefully chose the most tender aquatic plants, made me reflect on the extraordinary wisdom of nature. With his trunk, he tore them from the water and, in an almost hypnotic ritual, he repeatedly hit them forcefully against the surface. This gesture, which to a distracted eye might seem like a simple whim, was instead full of meaning. His molars were now worn out, worn down by the years and the hard food he had chewed over the course of his long life. Thus, the old elephant had found a way to adapt, rinsing and softening the plants before eating them, in an act that conveyed an extraordinary resilience. Its solitude, Its calm rhythm and that silent struggle against time struck me deeply, revealing to me how even the most majestic giants of the savannah are fragile in the face of the inevitable flow of life. Here, just as we were approaching, a majestic kudu appeared on the bank, immediately attracting our attention. With his regal bearing and imposing spiral horns, he seemed to look us straight in the eye for a moment, perfectly in tune with his surroundings. He moved elegantly and carefully towards the water, each step considered and silent. Then he bent down to drink, gently touching the surface of the water, creating small ripples that reflected the rays of the sun. Here, instead, you see a group of elephants on the horizon, an image that transmits strength and unity. However, what the video fails to capture is the delicate moment that is unfolding. Among those majestic giants, there was a small elephant in difficulty, slipped in the mud from which he could not get up. The scene live was a moving example of solidarity. As soon as the adults of the group noticed, they immediately took action to help the little one. It was a touching moment that revealed the intense family bond between these animals, demonstrating that even in the midst of wild nature, the sense of care and mutual protection prevails. The Mokoro is a traditional low canoe made from the trunk of a sycamore or kaigelia tree, also known as the sausage tree for its characteristic hanging fruit. Mokoro construction has recently undergone a significant transformation. Fiberglass has begun to be used, a choice motivated by growing awareness of environmental protection. This innovation allows the preservation of sycamore and kaigelia trees, which take decades to grow to an adequate size. Despite their seemingly precarious appearance, Mokoro are surprisingly stable and ideal for navigating the dense vegetation of the Okavango Delta. This mode of transport not only respects the ecological balance of the region, but also offers an authentic and silent experience to explore one of the most biodiverse ecosystems on the planet. The Mokoro is therefore not only a means of transport, but also a symbol of sustainability and tradition, which in the Okavango Delta deeply connects people to the surrounding nature. We waited patiently for a long time, keeping our distance and watching the canal widen into a small lake, hoping to get a better look at the hippos, the true giants of these waters. It was the ideal place. The calm waters, punctuated only by small waves created by the wind, seemed to hide the presence of these majestic creatures. We stared at the surface for endless minutes, waiting for that familiar movement that announces their appearance. The massive head emerging, the nostrils opening to breathe, and then back down, immersed in the tranquility of the water. This time the hippos, often so elusive, showed themselves for brief moments and never in all their grandeur. Even if we were not satisfied, the silence of the place, the calm of the water, and the promise of what could always happen gave us a moment of pure connection with the wild, where nothing is guaranteed and every encounter is a gift. It's time to go back, and our return journey is accompanied by one of the most fascinating shows that nature can offer. We begin the journey immersed in the magical atmosphere of the golden hour, that perfect moment in which the sun, slowly setting on the horizon, colors everything with a golden light. The trees, the bushes, and even the ground seem to shine with a warm and enveloping shade, as if the savanna had transformed into a living painting. Every detail appears sharper and more vibrant, and the air itself seems lighter, full of peace. Then, almost without realizing it, the golden light fades and gives way to a spectacular sunset where the sky is tinged with incredible shades. This return, kissed by the beauty of the African sunset, is the worthy conclusion of a day that will remain forever etched in our hearts. The dust raised by our passage has settled, and the off-road headlights illuminate the rough path. The puncture was not a surprise, given the hostile terrain dotted with sharp rocks. But now, with the night advancing, in the middle of the savannah, far from any help, we realize that every minute lost could mean further risk, but calm and concentration become our best allies. Unfortunately, this inconvenience can happen, and so, when we reach the gangway, it is already dark. The African sun, which only a few hours before was warming the wide dirt expanses, has now disappeared behind the horizon, leaving us immersed in a dense and silent darkness. This evening we find ourselves in an unequipped camp, immersed in the heart of the wildest nature, without running water or electricity. The silence is broken only by the crackling of the fire we have lit, while the cool night air envelopes us. We eat a simple tuna and tomato salad in a circle, a Spartan but tasty meal, accompanied by the stories that each of us shares of our past adventures. Each story brings with it a taste of discovery, of distant lands, of different cultures. And despite the Spartan conditions, we do not give up the pleasure of an evening coffee. Its aroma mixes with the smell of the fire, and as we sip slowly, we allow ourselves a moment of calm, observing the starry sky above us, far from any modern distraction. The dust raised by our passage has settled, and the off-road headlights illuminate the rough path. The puncture was not a surprise, given the hostile terrain dotted with sharp rocks. But now, with the night advancing, in the middle of the savannah, far from any help, we realize that every minute lost could mean further risk, but calm and concentration become our best allies. Unfortunately, this inconvenience can happen, and so, when we reach the gangway, it is already dark. The African sun, which only a few hours before was warming the wide dirt expanses, has now disappeared behind the horizon, leaving us immersed in a dense and silent darkness. This evening we find ourselves in an unequipped camp, immersed in the heart of the wildest nature, without running water or electricity. The silence is broken only by the crackling of the fire we have lit, while the cool night air envelopes us. We eat a simple tuna and tomato salad in a circle, a Spartan but tasty meal, accompanied by the stories that each of us shares of our past adventures. Each story brings with it a taste of discovery, of distant lands, of different cultures. And despite the Spartan conditions, we do not give up the pleasure of an evening coffee. Its aroma mixes with the smell of the fire, and as we sip slowly, we allow ourselves a moment of calm, observing the starry sky above us, far from any modern distraction.
Ciao.
The other pilot's name is Theo. He's just gonna go drop the combi and then he'll be here shortly. But I'll brief all of you because it's roughly the same briefing. Alrighty. The Boro River. This river is called the Boro River. Trek along it for a little bit. Try and look for some.
Selvaggi.
The Okavango River has its source in the western highlands of Angola, near the town of Wambo, an area rich in biodiversity and characterized by a lush landscape. From these heights, the river begins its long journey, collecting along the way the contribution of numerous tributaries that increase its flow and strength. Crossing the border with Namibia, the Okavango changes its name to the Okavango and continues its course winding through the arid plains and semi-desert regions. When it enters Botswana, the river takes the name of Okavango and, after traveling about 1,600 kilometers, empties into the famous Okavango Delta. This delta, one of the natural wonders of the world, is one of the largest inland water systems, an oasis of life on the edge of the Kalahari Desert, which supports a vast array of flora and fauna and represents a unique and fragile ecosystem, essential for the conservation of African biodiversity. The Okavango Delta, the second largest inland river delta in the world after the Niger Delta, is one of the most unusual ecosystems on the planet, an extraordinary environment rich in flora and fauna. The absence of agricultural and industrial activities along its course allows the river water to reach the delta pure, which contracts and expands according to the seasonal rhythm of the rains. In March and April, the rains in Angola begin to swell the river, and as the months pass, the precipitation tends to move westward, following the course of the river. From June onwards, the delta begins to expand rapidly, gaining about 3 kilometers per day. In July, however, the water begins to evaporate, causing a regression of the flood. This seasonal movement of water creates a dynamic river habitat that is home to a wide range of animal and plant species, all adapted to these fluctuations. The animals, following the new alluvial margins, move within the delta, finding refuge and nourishment. The Okavango Delta is rightly considered one of Africa's nature sanctuaries, an ecological jewel that attracts naturalists and tourists from all over the world, fascinated by its beauty and biodiversity. The Okavango Delta is certainly a unique place in the world, protected and carefully controlled like the whole territory of Botswana. Much credit goes to the foresight of the government, who have invested with determination in the conservation of this natural heritage. The extraordinary nature of the delta lies in the fact that a majestic river, instead of flowing into the sea, disappears into the Kalahari Desert, creating an alluvial plain of 15,000 square kilometers. Here, the river draws a complex and changing grid of channels, lagoons and islands, an aquatic mosaic in continuous transformation. This wonder of nature offers refuge to a wide range of animal and plant species, many of which are rare or endemic. The Okavango Delta is a vibrant ecosystem where life proliferates thanks to the harmonious interaction between water and land. Its protection is a national and international priority, as it represents not only an ecological treasure, but also a fundamental resource for sustainable tourism, which brings significant economic benefits to the country and promotes global awareness of the need to preserve such unique environments. From above, the vastness of the landscape opened up before our eyes like an infinite canvas, dotted with herds of animals moving in harmonious synchrony. It was a breathtaking spectacle, a meeting of wild nature and our privileged perspective. However, the charm of this vision was partly obscured by the glare of the light bouncing off the glass surface of the plane, creating a play of reflections that made it difficult to capture the entire scene. To further complicate the situation, the high speed of the plane and the considerable distance between us and the ground below made it almost impossible to record quality video. We had to be content to preserve those moments in our memories, knowing that the true beauty of what we were observing was beyond any film shot.